and power poles.
Meanwhile, extreme heat and red flag warnings challenge firefighters battling fires across Washington state.
Smoke and haze will continue to taint the air quality across the region.
We're still tracking the tropics for what could be the Atlantic's next hurricane.
There's a 70% likelihood that that's going to happen.
And how weather radios can help save your life in an emergency.
Any warning for the entire county will alert your weather radio.
And is this sweet peach year for Michigan farmers?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Senior meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. More than a dozen wildfires broke out in California yesterday, most sparked by an intense lightning storm early on Tuesday morning. The largest of those fires is already burned. Evacuation orders are posted in multiple counties as firefighters race to contain the flames. Many buildings are destroyed in the town of the Chinese Camp, a gold rush town that was an important center of early Chinese American life. And dry thunderstorms brought a barrage of nearly 5,000 lightning strikes across portions of Northern California. They're called dry because they bring very little rain. Most areas on Tuesday saw less than 1/10 of an inch. We have 2 reports on the fire, starting with Peyton Headley.
When we first pulled into the community of Chinese Camp at about 5:45 this afternoon, plumes of black smoke filled the horizon. Fires were burning in fields and on properties. Retardant drops were hard to see behind clouds of thick smoke. As we pulled in closer into a neighborhood along Red Hill Road, we saw the destruction this fire left. The flames tore through homes, properties, cars, and power poles as the wind spread embers up and down the neighborhood. From there, we drove along Highway 120 towards Sims Road. We're a little less than a mile from Red Hill Road right now, and you can see just how far this fire spread. Multiple homes here along Highway 120 are also burning. Propane tanks on one of the properties sending flames shooting up into the air.
Anytime that you see any type of destruction, it's tough.
Jamie Williams with CAL FIRE says it's been a challenging day with this fire as just one of more than a dozen fires they're battling.
So our priority is life and then property and then, protecting the resources.
From the air and from the ground. CAL FIRE working to contain the 2-7 fire near Murphys in Calaveras County. The fire forcing people to evacuate.
The Watch Duty app just kept buzzing, and I'm thinking, oh, it's copper. Oh, it's south of here. No, it's right in my next door. It's in my backyard.
Kimber Nealon taking her 3 cats and 3 dogs and packing her essentials in her car, watching in awe on the side of Highway 4 as crews battle the flames. Other evacuees, like David Ranker, closely watched their properties.
We were worried about it coming down there because it's not insured.
And while they wait along the highway for evacuation orders to be lifted, they're reminded that it's vital to always have a plan for when a fire sparks.
And it's not just people feeling the fallout from the wildfires in California. The Garnett Fire has folks at wildlife sanctuaries on edge as the flames move closer to the big cats under their care. Brianda Lemus shows us what they're doing to stay ready in case an evacuation order is issued for their area.
At Project Survival Cat Haven, staff is getting ready for a situation they hope never comes, evacuating dozens of wildcats if the Garnett Fire spreads.
It takes us a lot longer to get everything ready to go if we have to evac, so we need to have a lot of notice if we can to be able to prep for what we need to do to leave.
Dale Anderson, founder of Cat Haven, tells me the last time Cat Haven evacuated was in 2015 during the Rough Fire. Preparation means more than just cages and crates. Anderson says most cats already have crates inside their habitats, making it easier to load them if they need to evacuate. The larger cats are the exception. Dale says in a stressful situation, it's safer to put those cats under anesthesia to move them rather than trying to walk them out.
You have to have your vet here, you have to have a lot of different factors. It's not just, oh, let's just put them in the crate and get out of here. It's a lot more involved than just that. The next step past this one would be then putting what location they were going to, or what crate they're going into, or what truck they're going.
Fires are also burning across the Pacific Northwest, where intense summer heat is still baking the region. Heat alerts are posted for more than 10 million people again today. There are also red flag warnings, meaning the hot and dry conditions are increasing the fire danger. But as meteorologist Stella Sun explains, firefighters are optimistic they will soon put out Washington State's largest fire.
On the north end of Lake Cushman, helicopters navigating through steep terrain of the Olympic National Forest, dropping loads of water on hotspots of the Bear Gulch fire.
It has been slowly creeping along several drainages.
Flames consuming a few dozen acres each day or so.
We have not lost any containment lines whatsoever. Containment line could be a road, it could be a fire line that had been dug.
Despite warm and dry conditions,
we're not expecting huge fire growth over the next several days. But our meteorologist does predict that we'll have a season-ending event in the next month or so.
A season-ending event could be a soaking rain sometime this month or early next month. When that eventually happens, operations will start wrapping up, handing off this fire to local fire crews.
Happily, the historic structures that we wrapped for protection, we are starting to unwrap them.
Why?
The risk to those historic structures is minimal right now, and actually there's a risk of them degrading from the moisture that's kept inside.
In the meantime, smoke and haze will continue to taint the air quality across the region. Moderate for most of western Washington and unhealthy for sensitive groups in the immediate vicinity of the Bear Gulch fire.
Now tracking the tropics this morning, we continue to closely watch a disturbance in the far eastern tropical Atlantic Ocean. It does now have a 70% chance of becoming a storm over the next week. If it does, it will be named Gabrielle. It's still way too early to know if it might impact the U.S. We'll keep you posted. Well, maybe you've noticed temperatures are higher in urban areas than rural areas. Meteorologist Mitchell Coombs tells us why and shows us the difference.
Let's use the Missoula Valley as an example. Temperatures around the valley are warming up to around 85 degrees. Here in a more rural part of the valley, that's exactly where those temperatures will stay. Let's take a look at another part of the valley. Here at a suburban community park, we've seen those temperatures increase 1 to 2 degrees, upwards to around 86 to 87. Now let's take it into the city. As we move more into Missoula to Reserve Street, we enter a commercial district with numerous businesses. Temperatures here have warmed a few degrees. We're now into the upper 80s. Next stop, downtown. Here I am at my final destination on this journey, the heart of downtown Missoula. The temperature here, 92 degrees. The downtown area tends to warm up more quickly and significantly as compared to the rest of the valley. So here is a rough overlook at what those temperature trends are like all across the Missoula Valley. There are multiple reasons these urban heat islands occur. First, reduced natural landscapes in urban areas. Trees, grass, ponds, and rivers tend to cool the air by providing shade, transpiring water from plant leaves, and evaporating surface water, respectively. Second, urban material properties. Man-made materials like asphalt, concrete, and roofing have a low albedo, reflecting less of the sun's energy and absorbing and emitting more of the sun's heat as compared to natural surfaces like trees and grasses. Third, urban geometry. The size and spacing of buildings within a city influence wind flow and urban materials' ability to absorb and release solar energy. Fourth, heat generated by human activity. Buildings, air conditioning units, vehicles, and industrial facilities all emit heat into the urban environment. And fifth, weather and geography. Calm, clear weather conditions result in more severe heat islands by maximizing the amount of solar energy reaching urban surfaces and minimizing the amount of heat that is carried away.
Well, Hawaii's Kilauea volcano put on another show yesterday. For the 32nd time since last Christmas, it spewed a fountain of lava high into the air. And then while you were sleeping, the lava flow stopped. More than 12 million cubic yards of lava was released during this latest episode. If you spread it all over a football field, the pile would be more than 1 mile high. Well, coming up on the National Weather Desk, the peach and apricot season is nearing its end in northern Michigan. We'll head to a local farm to see how the weather impacted this year's crop. And we'll show you how NOAA weather radios work and why they're so important to have at home.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Another nice-looking day is on tap in the Northeast with high pressure firmly in control today. Afternoon temps will make a run at the 70s and low 80s. We'll enjoy a lot of sun. There may be a pop-up shower in northern New England, particularly in the mountains. Then we'll draw our attention to this next front approaching from the west that moves into New York on Thursday. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Most areas will enjoy a lot of sunshine on Thursday. That line of showers gets into New England Friday morning.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Will be mostly dry as we get into your Wednesday. Your afternoon is still going to be warm, but still pleasant. The lower humidity is lingering around for just one more day, but a stray shower possible overnight. Thursday, better chances of showers and storms mainly in the afternoon and evening hours as this cold front approaches. We will see the humidity rising up going into Thursday along with those temperatures too. Mid-70s in the mountains, low 80s in the lowlands. Elsewhere on Thursday, it's going to be warmer.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your forecast highs for the day. Looking at a high of 86 degrees in Tupelo, Mobile at 89, 84 Atlanta, Charleston coming in at 83 degrees, 90 in Tampa. Looks like we're seeing sun and clouds along the I-95 corridor, going up I-75 through Atlanta. Looking at sun and clouds, a little bit of showers and thunderstorms scattered through the afternoon, but things quiet down as we get into the overnight with clearing skies. But it looks like we'll stay on the warm side for the next few days.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, the peach and apricot season is nearing its end in northern Michigan. Meteorologist Ethan Foreman went to a local farm to see how the weather this year has impacted the crop.
This has been a fabulous year for peaches. In fact, all the late summer stone fruit has been really good. Apricots, peaches, nectarines, donut peaches. We had a fabulous crop, lots of fruit.
Jack King, the vice president of crop production at King Orchards, says with the hot summer weather followed by these cool and crisp nights to end August was key to a great crop.
And these trees love it. You know, they've been soaking up the sunshine, getting all that sun's energy and really generating the flavor, getting the sugar moving in these peaches. And it's turned out to be a really good season.
King stated that this was a big surprise considering the spring frost and early spring ice storm earlier this year.
On the negative side, we had some hail damage. You know, we had some early spring hail and some early summer hail as well. And when you're growing soft fruits, hail can be disastrous.
But despite the spring weather concerns, the peaches and apricots were able to be picked right on time.
It tends to be a really small window. We're usually looking at mid to late summer. Apricots will start as early as the beginning of August, and we'll usually see peaches and nectarines right in that mid-August, end of August timeline. And generally, we only get about a 2-week season.
And northern Michigan is the perfect spot for these crops.
Michigan has this fabulous growing climate. The combination of the big lake, a predominant southwest wind, and the nice steep hills that we grow on just makes a fabulous microclimate for growing fruit.
King says if you picked up some fruit during the harvest season, don't wait to enjoy it.
They last. You have a short shelf life, but it's not like an apple that you can put in the fridge for 6 months.
All right, well, how about this? Allergies can be annoying all year long. We know that, but this time of year, they come from a few different sources. But meteorologist A.J. Mastrangelo says ragweed takes the gold for the most disruptive. He has more from Providence, Rhode Island.
Fall allergies can be brutal for some. Let's talk about ragweed pollen. It's the most prevalent one we see in the fall time frame. They're actually annual weeds which mature in the early fall. 17 types of ragweed, alongside other things, produce pollen, and that of course can be spread by the wind. When we have wet stretches, those pollen counts are a little bit lower, and when we have dry stretches, it can be spread a little bit more easily. Now, this ragweed is a very prolific producer, however, less in quantity compared to what we see with tree pollen in the springtime or even grass pollen in the early summer. However, a lot of people actually deal with an allergy to ragweed itself, roughly 15 to 20% of the United States population. Now, this ragweed pollen typically peaks in mid-September until the first hard frost.
Oh, well, let's talk about this. Chimney swifts, known for roosting in chimneys during their migration south, have yet to show up at their usual location in Portland, Oregon. It's causing some concern because bird watchers use the area to monitor the birds' population numbers. Shelby Slaughter has more.
If people come to Chapman tonight, that's great. You may see the swifts, but you may not.
Joe Liebezite and his team over at the Bird Alliance of Oregon are tracking a big question for bird watchers right now. Will the swifts return to Chapman Elementary, a place they've come to for the last 30-plus years? Liebezite tells me it's a big if.
So far, they've not been there, but right now we're at the beginning of the season, so things could change.
Last year, the birds moved to a new site in northeast Portland. Liebezite tells me there's no reason as to why, and he says they've looked at a lot of data, but nothing gives a clear answer on what would make the birds move.
We collect information on how many swifts are going to the chimney every night. We've done that for decades. And we also look at the number of predators there, and we have not seen any kind of correlation between the number of Cooper's hawks and peregrine falcons that are eating the swifts as they go into the chimney and the birds leaving.
That's where you at home come in. If you see swifts in your neighborhood or even going into your chimney, the Bird Alliance is asking you to tell them so they can track if and where the birds have moved.
Well, there are a lot of different types of strong winds that can cause lots of different types of damage. Dayton meteorologist Zach Hatcher takes a look at some of them.
Let's look at straight line winds. That's winds just blowing generally in the same direction coming out from a thunderstorm. Can do a lot of damage sometimes. And we're looking at the duration of these different events here. I would say straight line events are on the short side of the scale in terms of time, and a tornadic wind event also on the short side. But when you look at a downburst, that quick gust of air coming out from the thunderstorm that can be a little bit powerful, those don't last very long, 5 to 10 minutes. Those are on the shortest side of the time scale there. And of course, gust fronts is when you have that nice gust of wind going out from the thunderstorm, around 30 to 40 miles per hour usually are what those are, but you can get them a little bit higher. Those are common in summertime storms, also in the spring, but more so in the summer. They're more noticeable because it cools it off a lot. And then a derecho, that's when you have a very extensive line of thunderstorms that tend to do a lot of damage as they go for, could be hundreds of miles.
And one way to make sure that you are prepared for severe winds and weather is to have a NOAA weather radio. Meteorologist Olivia Glass tells us how they work to keep you safe.
So this event here, which everybody will probably remember, this is the Easter tornado of 2020. So I want to show you the process that a forecaster would do to issue a warning. We kind of have the storm. We were looking at the strength of the storm here. We're looking at the rotation of the storm here. And we can also see, in this case here, this is actually what they call a debris ball. We can actually see the debris that's happening from this tornado. Once we're ready, we'll go ahead and issue the warning.
And having your weather radio programmed to your specific county is very important.
The weather radios, when they are alerted, it's based on the county. So if you have programmed in your radio Hamilton County, any warning for the entire county will alert your weather radio.
But Anthony Cavalucci says wireless emergency alerts sent to your cell phone are more localized to your specific area.
We draw the polygon that you saw, and within 300 feet of that polygon, if you're in there, you're going to receive the wireless emergency alert on your phone.
But those cell phone alerts, the National Weather Service says, can be less reliable.
These weather radios, they're currently supplied with phone lines, so it's all dependent on the phone line to the transmitter. And so we send our broadcast via phone line to the transmitter to broadcast out. So those are what trigger our weather radios during times of severe weather. And so cell phones may not be working.
The National Weather Service always recommends to have multiple ways to receive your warnings.
And time now for a short break. But first, we take to the skies over Idaho's Snake River Canyon.
Good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Cold fronts moving across the Midwest today. Look at these high temperatures, only in the 60s across the northern plains. Now, as we continue into the day today, that rain's going to continue pushing its way down towards the Ohio Valley with that cooler air moving in behind it. So the highs in the 60s across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley tomorrow. And by the time that we get to your Friday, look at that. Some high temperatures only in the 50s.
Well, a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with 60s and 70s. We have a couple of thunderstorms in around outside of Little Rock to start the day. And then for the afternoon, you see again a lot of hot sunshine, 80s and 90s for highs. Begin to shower thunderstorms as you work across Louisiana to southeast Texas. And on Thursday, we start in the 60s and 70s. Afternoon, with a lot of sunshine across the region, 90s to around 100 degrees.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, you can see where the heat is bearing down. Poor Spokane at 102 later today with an extreme heat warning in place for much of eastern Washington and Oregon. Nearly as hot, almost tying Phoenix at 104 and 71 in the city by the bay. A couple of thunderstorms certainly blowing up the last couple of days over Tahoe. More of the same over the Sierra and the Siskiyous later today. And that's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Fall colors are showing up in parts of Utah. This recent view of nature's changes at Butterfield Canyon outside of Salt Lake City. Inspiring daybreak landscapes, the sunflowers greeting their good friend near Portland, Oregon. A rainbow sherbet sunrise in Reno, and a steamy start to the morning, a sunrise look at an erupting Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Well, meteorological fall is here, and astronomical fall is a few weeks away, meaning fall foliage is not too far off. Meteorologist Dave Dirks explains why we can expect, or what rather we can expect, from the changing leaves across the southern Appalachians.
Some spotty color typically begins by late September across our highest mountains, but begins in earnest during early October and usually peaks above the 3,000-foot level around the middle of the month. The vibrant colors typically peak in the valleys, including the Tri-Cities, during the final couple of weeks of October or very early November. With abundant rainfall this summer, if Mother Nature provides sunny, warm days and cool nights typical of the season, I'm hopeful for a vibrant and colorful fall foliage.
Well, we made it halfway through the week on this Wednesday, 2 more days to go. We thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm WJLA Senior Meteorologist Brian Vandergraff. Make it a great day and hope to see you back here again tomorrow.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Hurricane season peaks next week, and so far it's been a fairly quiet year. Hurricane season is impacted by different weather phases known as ENSO. Meteorologist Noah Hawk explains what they are and what phase we are in right now.
When it comes to hurricane season, typically we talk about satellite imagery and model data to help predict what we could see in terms of our hurricane season. But we can also use climate data as well to see what could happen and whether or not we could expect an above average season. We're going to do that by looking at our El Nino Southern Oscillations, otherwise known as ENSO. This is going to be a climate pattern to help determine what some parts of the U.S. could experience. It could be drier for some months, it could be wetter, it could be cooler, and it could be warmer. But something else we're going to see is how we can determine whether or not our hurricane season will be above average or not. We're first going to start off with El Nino because there are 2 different phases. Now, this is going to be not as conducive for hurricanes in the Atlantic and the Gulf, and here's how. Down in South America, we're typically going to see weaker trade winds. That means that we're going to see warmer sea surface temperatures. But because the Earth loves to be within balance, that means that here in the Atlantic, it's going to have an opposite effect to balance things out. So we're going to see stronger winds, which is going to result in cooler water. This is going to happen through a process called upwelling. So that means that warmer water is going to move off to the side and allow that deeper, cooler water to move up towards the surface. And these stronger winds and cooler waters are not favorable for an above average season, whereas a La Nina, that's going to have an opposite effect. So down in around South America, you're going to see some stronger trade winds. That's going to lead to cooler waters down over in the Pacific, but here in the Atlantic, it's going to have the opposite effect for balance. So we're going to see weaker winds and even warmer water. So that's going to be much more favorable in terms of tropical storms and eventually hurricanes. But what about right now? What sort of climate pattern are we in? We're actually in between.